So I am coming to you today from a download that happened to me a couple of days ago that really wants to be seen and heard in the field, to be anchored in and through me in this body of work that I bring to the world called Kanika. Kanika is the seed of the golden atom. It is the light body that is being activated right now. It is the sacred geometry of sovereignty. And so, with that, what often comes is I get quite a few downloads around what is happening in the world and how to navigate it, but also a field of information, like in the form. We are bringing through a lot of information at the moment for the body, the micro, the macro, and the Earth's grids and how that relates into ourselves. And so the energy that wanted to come through today is all about intimacy. And there is so much going on in the planet. There is a lot of fear being brought to the front, to the top. And the word they really wanted me to bring through was liquefaction. And when we look to what liquefaction means, it's this process in which when water is saturated, then when water sediment is saturated, it temporarily loses its strength and acts like a liquid. So, like when you wiggle your toes in the water, in the sand, near the beach, it kind of creates that kind of effect. And so, it's often created by an earthquake. And at the moment, while I'm filming this, there's been a 5.3 near Vancouver Island. And the energy that really wants to land around this is a conversation around T9 in the body and the physical representation of the adrenals specifically, but also related into the kidneys. So a lot of this is about the hydrated energy. So what we're going through, and I'll bring through T9 from the Kanika Oracle deck, is this level of intimacy, not specifically between two humans, but between yourself and the larger oneness, the sovereignty energy that we are created from. This is the form that then gives us function to be the humans. And so you can see here we've got the bunny, which relates to fertility. And if the kidneys and the adrenals aren't working, this can be quite a big process or a big specific space for us to heal in order for the body to feel safe again. And so we've also got the doe or the deer, and that is all about anchoring the family lineage, but it's also about the softness and the feminine ability to soften into who we are and not let the fear that is rising and liquefying to the top be the reason that we move through the world in a state of stagnancy and rigidity, because softening to strengthen is the way forward. Now, there's so much information that wants to come through. I might get a little bit lost, but really want you to stay till the end to find out how we actually move a lot of this energy. So T9, the adrenal function in the body, deeply connected into the kidneys. We're looking at this from a point of our micro body, but also the macro body. And so when we look to the earth, we're looking to those spaces that hold really high frequency for our filtration system in the world. Now, one of those is actually Banff, which please excuse my pronunciation, but that is one of our key kidney meridians or kidney energy portals in the world. And Vancouver Island is sitting on a fault line, which is coming down and creating a shift. And I think it's the Puget line. I'm not totally certain, but on the other side of those mountains, there is Banff, right? And then we also have some of the other key places that I really want to bring through at the moment. We've got Lake Titicaca, which one of my incredible grid working clients has recently been to, and there's been a massive, massive process through that family for clearing ancestral trauma around kidneys and adrenal function since they've been. But we're also talking about the Great Artesian Basin in Australia, and we are linking this as well into the Ganges River in India, which my VIP client is also at the moment. So there's this massive motherland shifting. And when we bring it back into New Zealand, which is the core iwi, which is the bone area of the planet, we're looking at the original primordial waters. Rotpanamu is the original primordial waters. And so with all of those grid lines working at the moment, the fear that is rising on the planet is a tangible experience for a lot of people, and it collapses the adrenals. Now, when the adrenals are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, we really do struggle to bring through intimacy because our body is feeling like it is in survival. Now, I've personally been through this recently, and it's interesting because I haven't had a trauma response specific to something bad. I've had a trauma response in specific to something good. So we've recently moved. We've landed on this beautiful property as guardians and kaitiaki of this land. And there's an incredible stream moving through it called the Waitakaruru, which means the owl, and the owl coming down to gather water. And so it's the wisdom that wants to come down and gather water. Now, as I am channeling this through, the energy that's happening in the Mayan calendar is actually the blue magnetic eagle. Now, in the Mayan calendar, the way that we work is we're not working with the constraints of a Gregorian calendar. So you're not going from this date to this date. You're moving from energy to energy. And so we're moving into a new 13-day cycle, which the blue magnetic eagle is all about the grander vision. And if we zoom out like the eagle can, and we can still see the micro details, but we're zooming out to see the bigger picture, what we can do is soften our body and allow our kidneys and our adrenals to work more efficiently. Now, the kidneys actually govern the bones, and our bone is our survival. It is our skeleton. It is the if you put it on a knight who's out to, protect their land or protect the family, it's like the external armor that we place on our body, but it is internal. However, that doesn't mean it is not armor in some way, because it keeps the structure, but it also is the survival template. The bones at the core release an osteocalcin when we are in fight, flight, or fawn or freeze. So we've always known it to be adrenaline or cortisol, but when we truly get into the core, it comes through the bone response because the bone holds the memory. Now, the water moving through the bone is the lymphatic waste that needs to be cleared. And if it gets stuck, the lymphatic waste, which we're talking almost macro here too, like the planet, if the water gets stuck, it becomes stagnant. And this is when we start to get dis-ease or symptomatic symptoms and syndromes connected into the lack of ability to detoxify and release that old lymphatic waste. Now, the way that I look at lymphatic waste is it is a leftover or a residue or byproduct of all the energy we create within the bones, which hold the energetic blueprint for everything that we do. And so if it cannot be removed, then the bone doesn't get the oxygen that it needs to feel safe and create the vitality for our body. Now, this is happening on the planet. So if you are feeling symptomatic, if you are feeling lethargic, if you are feeling like you are in an energy of compromising, then compromising will mean that your body feels low in vitality, because compromising is a byproduct of us being in some kind of lack of personal freedom. Like we're feeling a sense of stickiness or feeling trapped in some way. And that's what the planet is moving through at this point in time. Now, we are also in a very powerful astrological process. We have never had so many planets moving. And there is a big shift in March where we come to Aries 0 point, which I'm not a big astrology person. I love hearing about it, but I haven't studied it fully, even though it aligns with my work. It's just another big body of work. But this is called the creator degree. So we are coming into a full reclamation of sovereignty on this planet in and through our bones, first and foremost. And when that breath gets stuck because of fear, it creates a bubble response in the bones where the energy through those meridians cannot move as efficiently. And so the invitation today is to really allow yourself to feel into the bigger picture. When we have an earthquake or we have an experience that shakes us, what it is doing is it is bringing up the sediment of the old version of us in order to be released. And it's going to take a higher level of hydration. And when I'm talking about hydration, I'm just hearing them speak to hydration on a metaphysical level as well, because hydration isn't just physically about receiving water. It's about having a hydrated mind, which means a mind anchored in potential, a mind anchored in higher frequency, a mind that is willing to see the old belief systems, the old stories, the old thoughts, and let it move through without judgment. And one of the other cards that I actually got when I was doing this channel before is the Nine of Cups upside down, which looks like we are losing all of our water, right? It is us in the deprivation of that hydration. A hydrated mind, a hydrated body, a hydrated spirit means that we are drinking in creator source energy. And right now I actually have a box of source water that we have in New Zealand that is very high frequency and structured water. So we're going through that as a family at the moment. And the word within it, because they place a word under the bag, is recovery. We are in a deep state of recovery, and this turbulence that is happening on the planet is all part of the process. So if you can bring yourself more compassion and come into the enjoyment of being present, what you are doing is collapsing that time frame. And this is why the eagle in the Mayan calendar is so profound, because if we break away from time as a construct that was created by people or humans in order to create a slavery conversation. This is your time and it equals this amount. And we move to time equals beauty and art. What we are doing is we're bringing this massive energy influx of raising the frequency to know that we're not in the old slavery templates where the adrenals and the water has been hijacked. We're actually moving into a higher frequency of sovereignty. Now, sovereignty is about reclaiming your energy. And so any stories that rise over the next coming weeks around who you feel you are either blaming or passing responsibility to, this is your moment to come back into yourself and know that you have the opportunity to empower yourself. Because when we are in compromise, we feel trapped or that we don't have that sense of personal freedom. But at the core, there is always an option. I'm not taking away from what you're experiencing, but there is always an option in order to empower yourself. And so when you hear the stories of where you're blaming someone or leaving the responsibility with someone else, say even as big as, say, the government, what we're doing is we are reclaiming that power to say, I'm going to create a veggie garden and hydrate my family with living water. I'm going to create a conscious business and empower the people around me by creating a ripple effect and inspiring, right? It could be anything that you are going through right now. And at this point in time, I've just been through a journey with my biological father. He's just turned 70, but we haven't talked for 10 years. And there was some stuff that came up that I still feel like I thought I had processed, but there were layers that went deeper into the bones. And so I came back around to T9. And it's interesting because when I released that, my son opened up this new frequency from moving from complaining, which is an element of feeling compromised, and moving into this empowerment. And he's just taken so much of a shift. He's now helping around the house and he's now giving me big cuddles and offering me support, where only a week ago, he was complaining about the food we were receiving in a restaurant, or the way the man was looking at him, or, all of these compromised energies where his personal self felt like he was blaming, like he was putting it onto others, right? He wasn't willing to go through the journey. And so as I shifted that with my father, it rippled into my son. First off, me, of course, rippled into my son and started to clean out the story around being abandoned, around being rejected, and that person was the problem. Because in my journey, he has been the greatest gift. Right. And so now that I see it that way, there's this shift that has happened in my adrenal function. I'm able to regulate a lot easier. And so as we clear out this time constraint, we actually come into a space of presence. And presence is funny because when you're in presence, you're not in the future or in the past. And you can actually, when someone asks you what you did last week, it could be almost a blank, not because you don't have the memory recall, but because it was so far in the past, according to your presence, that it feels unable to attain that and go back into that old story. And so in the Mayan calendar, by bringing in the eagle, what we're doing is we are seeing the bigger vision while being present. And it's interesting because I believe it's the Native Indian American, uh, we call it Te Ao and Te Ao Māori in New Zealand, but their essence, they speak to the eagle being the only animal that can touch the face of God. And as we come into this energy, even if you are feeling the fear, the invitation is to allow your body to receive the softening that the earth is also going through with this liquefaction, right? And so the other energy that came through after the Nine of Cups upside down and the intimacy card was the reciprocity, which is the ilium. And the ilium in the body is all about coming back into reciprocity with Mother Nature, reciprocity as a family, and leaning into the sacredness of the herd, of the community. And the other energy that wanted to come through in the other deck was justice. So it's an invitation to know that we will receive justice. There is justice in the world, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. But when we blame or push or force our opinion onto others, what we are actually doing is creating a collapse and pushing us into a time frame. And now that time frame is when we feel out of that personal that personal abundance. We feel restricted. We feel lethargic. We feel compromised. And this is coming full circle on the planet because it's an invitation for us to totally and utterly empower ourselves. What is the one thing that you can do to allow yourself to come into a full presence, touching the face of God energy? And I'm talking, when I'm speaking God, I'm talking universal, I'm talking source energy, I'm talking oneness. And as we do this, we elevate the frequency that is happening on the planet, and we find the ability to be in our clarity. We find the ability to be clearer in the body. We're releasing more through the body. We're releasing more through our mind because we're becoming more hydrated in our energies. And so this brings us vision. It brings us purpose. And when we're on purpose, we're in purpose, we are a power that cannot stop. And we are shifting at this point for this transformation. We are liquefying the old. And sometimes that can feel heavy. But if you give yourself that compassion, you honor that we are going through a massive death cycle as a planet, as a species, but also on a personal level. And that is actually part of the process. It is part of the rebirth. That void space is the integration of everything you have been doing in the past. And now we are liquefying it. It is coming to the top. It will be released. And yes, there's going to be more shaking on this planet. There is going to be some more movement of that fire energy to get the liquid moving. And so in that, this is where Kanika, we use Kanika to clear the breath. That helps with the fire in the body, and it absolutely activates the movement of that lymphatic energy or the stuck energy that's sitting in the bones. So just coming back into, that struggling to be in intimacy, remember that intimacy is into me, I see. Right? We're coming full circle in the responsibility wheel. And when we are available for intimacy within ourselves, we actually open ourselves to the common unity. We empower, and that creates powerful change. It fosters resilience. And so instead of leaning out into the world and seeing everything that's wrong, I invite you to be in the time of you, which is timeless. It is art, it is beauty, it is presence, and that brings intimacy. So if you want an embodiment tool, I would suggest looking into your eyes for a minute, if that's the first time you've ever done it, and just seeing what happens. Look for the liquefaction. Look for the liquid shift that happens in your eyes and allow that to happen. And the other one would be to just do some breath work and then rest with your body on the earth. Receive that water. Receive the water that comes up to meet you when you're lying on the earth. Receive the water from a consciousness point of view, knowing that it is a crystalline form and it has consciousness. So receive that water. Move from the turbulence and allow yourself to be in the calmness, the acceptance, because this is a really big clearing time on the planet. And if I just ask for one more message, let's find out what they want to just share with you as a lasting kind of energy. Yeah, it's the kidneys and the adrenals are a really big topic, and we go into them very deeply in Kanika. Yeah. So we've got the tower moment. This is the crumble, and that is okay. And let's not make that a problem. That allows us to really know that change is here. And with change, there is a liquefaction that needs to happen so that our bodies can rebirth from a state of empowerment, from a state of abundance, and come back to the sovereignty template, the one before we were conditioned and programmed and stepped into the stories of our ancestors that do not serve us now, but also to align ourselves to that higher ascension energy, that it is safe. We are moving through a massive portal, and this planet is going through the biggest shift that it has ever been, and it's going to take hydration. That's what it's going to take to help us move through that energy. And like I said, hydration is key. It's essential in brain, in mind, in thought, in belief, in consciousness. So the card that really wanted to come through is the Hierophant, right? So all about your personal beliefs, your spiritual wisdom. It's about coming into a self-education. And as I receive that information, I'm hearing them ask me to do a T9 shift. Okay, so we're going to do a T9 shift now. And if Kanika interests you or intrigues you, please reach out and we can send you our practitioner list of Kanika practitioners around the globe. And they work so efficiently. Sometimes it could be a half an hour session. Sometimes it could be 45 minutes. Sometimes it's 10 minutes. And it's very powerful. So what I invite you to do, to bring in your personal spiritual wisdom, to bring in your truth, to clear yourself out from the old matrix of time and receive yourself in the hydration of time, which is to be in art and beauty, to be in your enjoyment and not compromise. We are going to do a T9 shift. So you're going to place your hand mid upper back, right? One finger, and then two fingers across the bridge of your nose. Now feel into how your body felt before this. Did it feel rigid? Did it feel like there was heaviness? Was there an overwhelm happening? Were you anxious? But Now, tune into afterwards, we're going to tune into how you feel afterwards. So, just tuning into that pressure, and you're going to apply pressure here, and you're going to take a massive deep breath in. You're going to hold. We sip it in 3 times right to the top. Hold. Let your body move where it needs to, keeping your hands where they are. And let go. So I noticed a lot of energy coming out and through that right shoulder. The right shoulder is all about the responsibility to be in structure and in purpose. And at the same time, if it's under pressure, it's going to twist and twist the T9, which is that intimacy. So we may be feeling a little upset with the masculine within us and our inner selves around holding structure, but allow that to be okay. And as that happens, you're going to find your unique alignment, because a lot of this is around not being in alignment with your own spiritual wisdom when we come back to the Hierophant energy. And as we come into our own spiritual wisdom, we realign and find a new way forward, because what worked before may not be working now. I hope this meets you well and you have the most glorious day. Please send this out, share, subscribe. We would love to have you on our channel here at Kanika, and have a beautiful day. Aroha nui.